You're watching CBS Sports HQ. The MLB Trade Deadline is inching closer and closer, just 3 days to go. July 31st at 6 p.m. And we're wondering some of the big names that could be on the move. Eugenio Suarez, that is one of them that we've been talking about for quite some time. There's obvious buyers that are out there, right? Like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and then obvious sellers that we know about, like the Rockies and the A's. But we are still wondering what moves should be made and what are the best fits as we approach July 31st. And for more of that, let's welcome in our MLB analyst, Julian McWilliams, to talk fits for some of the top guys who could be on the move. First up, we're talking about a team that you've covered for a very, very long time, Julian, and that is the Boston Red Sox. There's been so much conversation throughout this season, the ebbs and flows. Are they a playoff team? Are they not? They're going to be buyers. That's what we're leaning towards. But what are some moves that they need to make here to get them over the hump?
Yeah, they certainly look like a playoff team right now, right? After taking 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. I still think that they're a bat away, right? I don't think that they can sort of stay with this team as such as a team that's not necessarily an offensive team, right? They only had like 5 or 6 hits yesterday. They haven't really been having that much offense. So I see a guy like Marcell Ozuna being a really good fit for them. And then additionally, I think they need a starting pitcher. There's Zach Gallen out there. There's Merrill Kelly, right? Sandy Alcantara, you can name those guys. However, I don't know how much they will be in the starters market because they want a starter under control. So I'm not sure Red Sox fans are going to be too happy about that. But I do expect them to add another bat and additionally add another bullpen arm as well.
Braves fans also are not going to be happy that you're talking about Ozuna heading over to Boston, all right? But I digress. Let's go to the Yankees because it's been a pretty bad 2-month stretch, 22 and 28 since May 28th to be exact. Aaron Judge, not the best news there. He's now in the IL. So who are some guys that they should be targeting?
I know people have talked about starting pitching a lot, and I don't really expect them to be in that starting pitching market like that. But their middle of the bullpen is a problem. It's been a problem since the beginning of the season with the struggles of Mark Leiter Jr. and Ian Hamilton and all those guys. I think that they need to shore up that part. And I think if you could have somebody like a Luke Weaver to go with like Yohan Duran and David Bednar, I think those guys would certainly shore up a bullpen. Now, Yohan Duran is going to cost a lot of money because that's the Minnesota's highest chip. And I spoke to somebody from Minnesota actually, and they said that they expect to trade him at some point, or they're hoping they can trade him at some point because he gives them the most leverage. So we'll see what happens. But if you can get those 2 guys in there, or at least one of those guys, I think that shores up the middle part of that bullpen. Then you can mix and match however you want to.
Now, the conversation is certainly different for their crosstown rivals in the Mets. It feels like everything is sort of clicking at the right time. David Samson says otherwise, right? But the Mets, regardless, they've won 7 in a row. Pitching is on the wish list. I mean, who is it not on the wish list for? They've used 37 pitchers this season. That is the most in Major League Baseball, Julian.
Yeah, I think if you're going to look at them, you have to look at their starting pitching and say that it's not enough, right? They're talking about adding Clay Holmes, possibly piggybacking him with Frankie Montas. Guess what? That stuff doesn't necessarily work when you're trying to fight for a playoff spot. Clay Holmes, he cannot get past 5 innings, which is natural because he's never been a starter at the big league level like that. So if you're looking at the starters market, I think you got to go after Sandy Alcantara, Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, one of those guys. I know they're not having the best of seasons, particularly the last 2 guys, Zach Gallen and Alcantara, but a change of scenery can be better. And the Mets, they have been known to spend. They're a team that will spend. They're not afraid to give up some prospects. So they should be in the market for those 3 guys.
And it's neck and neck in the division with the Mets and the Phillies. Some of our analysts are still leaning towards the Phillies there as taking the division, but currently they are a wild card team, Julian. So what moves should they make? Who should they be targeting as the trade deadline is looming?
Yeah, they need relievers. I think the loss of their closer for the year after a PED scandal, that's going to hurt them hard in the playoffs. So if I'm looking at them, I think they possibly need to go after Ryan Helsley or somebody like that. I spoke to Dave Dombrowski about a month ago, and he said we're going to add pitching, and we really need to shore up our bullpen. The lineup, I think, is fine. Right, the lineup I think is going to hit at some point, and they're going to be able to come together. But the starting pitching has been really good, but it's just their bullpen that's going to have some changes to it.
Julian, we certainly appreciated going through some of the best fits as the MLB trade deadline approaches. Again, just 3 days away. And here's a look at the slate for tonight in Major League Baseball. The Tigers kick things off against the Diamondbacks at 6:40 Eastern. We talked about the Yankees welcoming the Rays to town. And then in that late slate, the Mets trying to see if they can keep their win streak alive against the Padres at 9:40 Eastern.
Welcome back into Spotlight on a Monday. Just a couple days now until the Major League Baseball trade deadline coming up this Thursday. The deadline at 6 Eastern. We have a list right now. As you can see, you can find the full list on CBSSports.com. The top impact players who could be moved. I think we give 30 players there. At the very top, you see Eugenio Suarez with the Diamondbacks. We're going to talk about him and a couple others who are very notable. For more on that, let's welcome in our baseball expert, Matt Snyder. It was like a combination of Matt and Max. Let's talk about Eugenio Suarez coming in at #1 on that list. He's the biggest bat that teams are after. There's also a couple other players with the Diamondbacks, so chat to us about him and the other guys on that list.
No, he's having a monster power season. He's on pace for over 50 home runs, and it's not just like a one-off season. We've seen him hit 49 before. He routinely goes over 30. So this guy, with several teams in the mix looking for third base help, or at least being open to third base help, is probably going to be the biggest name moved here at the trade deadline. He was having an all-star season. He's just been amazing. There was a scare in the all-star game. If you remember, he got hit, it looked like on the pinky, but it turns out it's okay. He hit 2 home runs in 2 straight games right after the all-star break. So it's going to be very fun to see where he goes. You're hearing teams like the Cubs, Mariners, Brewers, Tigers, maybe even a reunion with the Reds where he first came up. Any of those teams will work for Suarez right now, and he would be a major needle mover for any of them.
The Diamondbacks could be big sellers. Anybody else notable that you think will likely get moved on this list?
Absolutely. Well, Grichuk already did get moved yesterday. Merrill Kelly is, proven kind of mid-rotation to frontline, like in between frontline and mid-rotation guy that could really be a nice 2 or 3 in a playoff rotation, and he just did so a couple of years ago for the Diamondbacks alongside Zach Gallen, who he's an interesting one to me. He was an All-Star Game starter 2 years ago. He was the ace of the World Series team in the 2023 Diamondbacks, but a 5.60 ERA this season with 23 home runs allowed. Big problems with the home runs. So if somebody was going to take a look at him, it would be kind of a lottery ticket, and can we get him back to that ace level in just these last 2 months? It would be worth a shot.
I just noticed the tie. Baseball ties really are the best. They're so much fun. Let's go to the Pirates right now. 2 pitchers actually on that list. You get Mitch Keller, David Bednar. Good thing for them. They sent David Bednar back to the minors back in April. Came back is on fire at 1.59 ERA. But Mitch Keller coming in at #2 on our players who could have the most impact. Why is he so desirable right now?
Oh, Keller is a very underrated arm, and it's because he's been on the Pirates wasting away all these years. Now there's 3 years and $53 million, around $53 million left on his contract. The Pirates have been very good at developing pitching and are awful at position player-wise development. So if they trade Keller right now, right before he gets expensive to them, they might be able to get back a good haul of position players and then try to build around Paul Skeens next year and Jared Jones, who will be returning from Tommy John surgery. Looks like they already have the makings of a good rotation. They could spare Keller, they could spell Bednar, maybe get back 3 or 4 impact position players who could help them starting next year. And Keller right now, 2.59 ERA in his last 8 starts. He might get a little extra spring in his step going from the Pirates to a contender. I think he's going to be a great addition for somebody.
Let's go to the Nationals here. We have Mackenzie Gore, Alex Call, and I got to find out who wrote this article. R.J. Anderson wrote the article, and I have to quote him because it's beautiful on Alex Call. It would be prudent to ship him to a contender seeking a short side platoon player who traffics mostly in singles and walks. I feel like I just read something from, Jane Eyre or something like that. What do we need?
He's a good wordsmith.
Yeah, he is a very good wordsmith. Mackenzie Gore, Alex Call. Do you think either of these guys will get moved, and what kind of teams are going to want him?
Yeah, Call certainly anybody, basically, because he looks like a good batting average, good on base percentage. He can come off the bench. He can play all 3 outfield spots. He's 30 years old. It's not like he's expensive at all. So I think that anybody who's looking for bench depth right now, and that is pretty much every team in the playoff race, would be interested in Call. Interesting on Gore. Nobody really brought him up until late last week, and then it was ESPN.com who floated him, and things have started to pick up since then. all-star, frontline starter, monster strikeout rate. He has had some problems with walks, but he's not a free agent until after 2027. Interestingly, the Nationals moved Juan Soto when he was just about the same amount of time away from free agency. And basically the only thing that's gone well in their rebuild to this point was that Juan Soto trade. Gore was in it, along with C.J. Abrams and James Wood. The new front office, I don't know where they stand with the ownership, because Mike Rizzo just got fired a couple weeks ago right before the draft, and now they've got an interim GM. You don't know if he's going to stick around. You don't know if ownership is okay with him trading Mackenzie Gore right now. It might make sense to trade him and try to get a haul and try to push this rebuild forward a little bit, but it's hard to know where ownership is, where this interim front office is. But Gore would be a monster addition for anybody if he was traded.
So a lot of these teams have multiple players who could be big impact players if they are traded. The Cardinals, this list out of 30 players, they have 4 of them, including Nolan Arenado. So we're seeing a renewed interest in him, although he might not necessarily be the most desirable out of those 4 players.
No, it's Helsley right there. I mean, he was probably the second best closer in baseball last season after Emmanuel Clase. He's not near as dominant this year, but your relievers are volatile. And just knowing that he has that kind of stuff, he led the majors with 49 saves last year. There are always teams looking for impact late inning bullpen arms, because they could impact almost every single game in the playoffs. So I think Helsley could be an amazing addition for somebody. Matt's kind of a long relief guy there. A lot of teams need the underbelly of their bullpen to be shored up. And if you can get somebody like Steven Matzer, that'd be a nice addition. Matana as well. He's having a great year. Relievers are always volatile, so if you go out and you get an upgrade. Arenado is very interesting because his name has so much cachet. He might be a Hall of Famer someday, but he's not really that good of a hitter anymore. He's really expensive. We'll see how much money the Cardinals want to eat to move him. I believe the Rockies are still actually on the hook for some of his contract. Still a very good defender. So if somebody like the Yankees were when they added Ryan McMahon is looking for somebody where they want the defense shored up and they're not really as worried about the bat, Arenado could work there.
Yes, 8-time All-Star, but getting up in age and not necessarily the production that we saw in the past. It happens. It happens with the age. Final team, let's go to the Orioles here. Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins, Charlie Morton. Ryan O'Hearn is the highest on that list, though, but I want to start with Charlie Morton and ask you, do teams now see him as a legit rotation pitcher?
Maybe. It'd have to be on the back end of the rotation, I think. He had a really, really good stretch before the All-Star break where he started to look like the Charlie Morton of old, but he got roughed up right coming out of the All-Star break, and it's just another reminder that he's on the wrong side of 40 years old. He's getting up there, so much mileage on that arm. But he's capable of putting together a few good starts in a row, and if you needed him to be your 4th starter in the playoff rotation, I think he could do a lot worse. He has good postseason pedigree. He's a tough guy. He has a lot of know-how up there on the mound. So I think it's possible somebody would take a shot at him. But if it's somebody like, let's say, the Yankees, who probably need 2 starting pitchers, you would want him to be the second best one that you added. So you add somebody in the Mitch Keller, Mackenzie Gore range, and then you go out and you get Morton to help fill out your rotation. He's more of a depth starter at this point in his career.
So many of those teams looking for one final rotation guy as we get closer toward the end of the season. Matt, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Again, love the time, my friend. Fantasy baseball today. Are you playing fantasy baseball today, Chris?
No,
Didn't you do that one time?
Just football.
You never played it?
No.
I think you should.
Well, and my life. My life is one big fantasy as well.
This is true. Also, if you'd like to see the full list of those impact players, just head over to cbssports.com.